I just want to say welcome, Marie-Dominique, quickly. I'll let Sirat introduce you with more detail, but just want to say that I've met Marie-Dominique when I was a resident in family medicine, and you've always been a very inspiring figure for me, a remarkable clinician, researcher, family physician. And lately, we worked a lot on the trajectory on to encourage family physicians to become a clinician scientist in Quebec. And this is really in this context that we wanted Dr. Beaulieu to come and speak to us. So I'll stop there. I'll leave the floor to you, Sirat, to lead the meeting, but welcome.
Hi, everyone. So welcome. My name is Sira, and I'm a first-year MSc student working under the supervision of Dr. Diplokamandi. My thesis is focused on understanding the impact of mental health on the trajectories of women living with HIV across the care cascade. So before we begin, I'd like to start off with the land acknowledgement. McGill University is located on land which has long served as a site of meeting and exchange among Indigenous peoples, including the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe nations. McGill honors, recognizes, and respects these nations as the traditional stewards of the lands and waters on which we meet today. Today's seminar is titled Being a Family Physician Scientist, Distant Dream or Achievable Ambition. We're grateful to have Dr. Marie-Dominique Beaulieu. Dr. Beaulieu has practiced family medicine for some 40 years and has held various leadership positions. She received an honorary doctorate from University Laval and is a member of l'Ordre national du Québec. Her research projects focus on the quality of primary care and on collaborative practices. In her presentation, she'll expose what has been accomplished in Quebec over the last 2 years to create a realistic career path for family physicians who want to become researchers and illustrate what a career in research in family medicine can look like. As a reminder, the presentation will be 30 minutes, followed by 30 minutes for the discussion. You're welcome to post questions in the chat throughout or raise your hand during the discussion portion. Also, this seminar will be recorded, and if you'd not like to be recorded, we ask that you please turn off your video. With that, I'll hand it over to Dr. Beaulieu.
Merci beaucoup, Sarah. Merci beaucoup. Bon début d'après-midi. C'est vraiment un plaisir d'être avec vous. It's really a real pleasure to join. I see a lot of names, if not faces, of people that I know and that I've worked with. And I just want also to say that you may not know, but I began my practice at McGill University in 78 at the family medicine unit of the Children's. There was a family medicine unit at the Children's with Pierre-Paul Tellier, Alain Patlanis, many people. So McGill, there's always a place in my heart for McGill. Donc, most of my, checking in. I will speak in English. I have a few slides in French. And here we go. I'm going to share my screen. And you will tell me if you see, do you see it? Do you see? Are you there? Can you tell
but
me?
we don't see it.
Bon, okay.
We'll
do that. Oh, that's the way. That's the way. Now you see.
Yeah, it's there.
Voila, we've got it. It's funny, and there's always a little lag. Now I see you and I see my slides. That's perfect. So, yeah. Being a family physician scientist, is it a distant dream or an achievable ambition? I'm not going to talk about me really, but about more a vision and what we have tried to do the last years. So maybe it's not necessary to say that. You see, that was David White when he was president of the college, and I think it's still true. The lifeblood of a discipline is its research. A discipline that does not develop a body of knowledge is doomed to extinction. Family physician trains half the physician in Quebec and in Canada. And just to give you an idea, the Royal College of Surgeons and Physicians have said that 3% of medical specialists should be researchers, clinical researchers, because we're going to talk about that. So in 2018 in Quebec, of the 111 physician scientists having a career award from the FRQS, 2 were family physicians. This represents 0.025% of family physicians in Quebec. Just for you to know, it's absolutely the same. There are 3 now this year. Maybe there'll be more. So we had a problem. I mean, we were very far from contributing to that. And this is why the chairs, it was Howard Bergman then, who was the chair at McGill, really said that was a wake-up call. We do have to do something. There were talks to renegotiate the salaries, support salary program with FMOQ. And that's where the journey began. So I'm going to tell you a bit about, first, I think it's important because we're talking about that, just to share what I think it's a unique contribution of physician scientists to family medicine. I'll tell the story of what's been done in Quebec, and that's what Alexandra asked me to do particularly, to see, really to try to really creating a realistic career path, and maybe conclude and sharing some insight, because some people may, and some of you are young, or you are actually, you're all educators, most of you, you are actually coaching. Whoops, are you there? Are you there?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, we are.
My computer's kind of vanished. So what can it look like? Maybe some of you ask yourself, what can it look like? So first, I think it's important to talk of the unique contribution of family physician scientists. I know that there are many graduate students, many researchers who are PhDs, and we are all part of that. But there is something special about being a clinician and a researcher at the same time. And this is why also you can see that there are so few of us, because they are really challenging. So what is this about? First, I really want to say that even if we're going to talk about this particular career track, research is really a teamwork. It's not a one-person responsibility. It's not a one-person journey. It's a department journey. It's a university journey. And I call it a pyramid, but really the basis of all for a department is really that to have a strong research culture. And that means that most clinical settings, being wards, palliative care, family medicine groups, there should be some culture of research. Then there will be some settings that may be champions, that they will do more research. There will be some research going on. There'll be maybe more innovators, and we want them, and there'll be champions, clinician researchers there. But in other settings, they may be leaders in education, so there's a place for a lot of leadership in family medicine. And then you have at the tip, and I don't say the top, at the tip of the pyramid, these research teams where Alexandra belongs, where Bertrand Le Boucher belongs, and where I belonged when I was active, where you have really a concentration, and you have what you find career researchers and family physician scientists. So, but don't lose track of that. We're going to talk about a breed that maybe is special, but it's part of the same vision. The whole thing must be there for this to succeed. And the strength really of any department, because we are in a department, excuse me, oops, I'm just moving ahead. It's really to have the whole continuum of researchers in a department. So you will have collaborators, and you see, and this is what the time, the proportion of time for the clinical work and the research work. So you will have collaborators. Most of us should have a chance to collaborate to research. There will be some clinicians who really will do research as an important part, maybe 20%, something like that, but they won't necessarily be career researchers. Then you have those, en français, we say, chercheurs cliniciens autonomes. That's the term in English is physician scientist. This is really the recognized term. In French, we say chercheurs cliniciens autonomes. And you have the PhD researchers. So everybody should be there. Everybody has a role. It's very important. But And just to, sometimes I have questions on that. I'm just trying to move the bar where you are all, dear colleagues. Yes, perfect. And sometimes people ask a bit, how do you differentiate the three kinds of clinicians, you know, physician clinicians? So you have the physician scientists. Usually, you really do have to be supported financially to devote at least 50% of your time to your research. Sometimes it's 75% if you have a researcher Canada chair. And the researcher, the physician scientist, really develops his or her own research program, goes for grant, manage a team, you know, teach students. And people don't often say that, but I must say, to me, a researcher, like also a PhD researcher, is some kind of an entrepreneur. You know, you're managing a team, you're looking for grants, you're having ideas, you do a lot, and you are at the head of something that is quite demanding. Usually the clinician researchers will devote like 10-20% to research. Would be like in the PBRN. You have a PBRN. I don't know if you coordinator is here, I think so. And, you know, and it can be on a ward, on geriatrics, and then collaborators, they would do it from time to time. What is really unique about physicians, it's very unique. And we kind of don't really get it. And physician scientists, be them cardiologists, family physicians, are really unique because they are always both in the clinical work and in the research work. And they are active in both worlds. And actually, they are the ones necessary for the trans, you know, to be catalyst of translation of research into practice or implementation research, real world research, real world evidence. So they are really special. And for those of you who are maybe coaching some, or you are, I don't know, responsible of family medicine units, there are people who are going to manage all their life being on two lists. The list as a clinician, being a good clinician, being there on call, doing all the things you have to do as a clinician. And then you are on the list for the research, so writing the grants, you know, and supporting, and you manage that all the time. And it's a challenge. Roland Grad was part of that task force a couple of years ago. And it's really a challenge for all clinical disciplines to really try to support those clinicians who will devote half of their time to research. How do you get there? So I like personally a lot the analogy with sports and with anything, art, or, you know, but because it's the same kind of thing. It's really there is really like you need curiosity, passion, determination, perseverance. You need that for everything, mind you, to be a good physician, to be, I mean, that's very important. But you also need more than just talent. You need a robust training. You need protected time. It cannot be just on the weekends and, you know, at midnight. You need a nurturing environment, and you need mentorship. And those of us who are supporting research, we need also to put that in place so we can offer that for those who are aspiring to do that. So let's just have a look a bit at the winning conditions, and then I'll tell you what we've done in Quebec. So first, you need solid training. And we use sometimes to have a little fuzzy message in family medicine. You know, you want to do research, that's nice, or a bit of a romantic approach to research. But you really need an MSc and or PhD plus a fellowship. You have to go somewhere else a bit, just not your inbreeding, and you have to go somewhere else. You need also role models. Then you have to be in a nurturing environment, and we should not you know, underestimate that. There has to be a critical mass of researchers, so all of those, that's that part of the team, a scientific life, access to support, scholarship. You need to find a coherence between your practice and your research. It has to be coherent. And your the clinical setting must also be supported and can act as a research laboratory for the research. And there's a need for mentorship for a long time. You see what I just wrote, but it's really for the first almost 10 years, you need some active mentorship. So what have we done? So you remember there were 2 on 111, and now there are 3 on 150. Just tell you, we still have a lot to do. So, well, they were full of stumbling blocks in Quebec to permit family physicians to develop themselves as researchers, and it was a real labyrinth. Even if everybody was talking thought they talked the same language. I mean, nothing was aligned. First, there were confusions about the career profile. So, you want to be a researcher, go, that's nice, 20%, 50%. We were not clear about the importance of the difference in the training, particularly to really be a scientist. The clinical scholar residency program, Bertrand, you're now responsible for that residency, was too short to obtain a first research degree. The key is really your first research degree, your first MSc in research. It can be an MSc in epidemiology, public health, in any training discipline. And usually right now for clinicians and other specialties, it's called clinical investigator program, was of 2 years as residents. So then that as residents, they were able to finish a master with clinical funding and all that. So we had not that, the clinical scholar was just a year. There was a program to support residents by FRQS, but because of all our labyrinth, it was not actually accessible to residents in family medicine. I don't have to tell you about the PREMS, the AMP, I don't know how to say that, the acronym is in English. That was first impossible to kind of plan ahead where you would land, where will you land in 2 years, what clinical setting. It was like the musical chair every year. No research IMP, and to find protected money for this 50% time. You don't live of the d'eau et d'eau fraîche, de fleurs et d'eau fraîche, comme on dit. So these were all the stumbling blocks that were there in until 2018 when we began to work. So the deans were really put together by the chairs. I just want to say, Marianne, I think you're there. Marianne is now the one, but without the vision and the resolve of the 4 department chairs, this would not have happened. So, and they talked to the deans, and the deans called for a provincial group with FRQS, FMOQ, the Ministry of Health, and it was actually chaired by your dean, Dr. Eidelman. And they decided first of a common target for Quebec. So they said, we need 20, at least 20 family physicians, scientists in 10 years in the province of Quebec to develop a mass critique. Quebec needs that, we need that. So what do we do to get there and to create a path? And so they created a working group, and we had 2 working groups, one on training, and Roland was representing you on that one. And then Alexandra joined the whole group that kind of followed that whole thing during 2 years. So first, there was the training. So we said we need a 2-year clinical scholar residency to give the opportunity to those who want to get a master's degree while they are paid as residents, and they don't have to look for funding to acquire a first master. And we got it, and I know you all worked very hard, and it's created everywhere. The Ministry of Health put 4 additional positions there, 1 for each program. And we also discussed with FRQS, and now the program that is dedicated for residents, family medicine residents, is accessible. Okay, so I won't go into the nitty-gritty. The idea is just that that we've done things. Alexandra, Marianne, Bertrand should know about how to travel that, because it's complex. But that was one of the stumbling blocks. I mean, it was really one of the big problems. Then we have to be able to guarantee access to an appropriate practice setting and protected time. And if you realize that you will have to maybe go and do a fellowship or something like that, you have to be sure you can come back, you can begin your practice where you want to be. I mean, you want to be in a family medicine unit, you want to do palliative care, that's what you want to do. And then you have the prem in October, and you know, la chaise musicale, the music stops, you don't have a place, that's it. So this is impossible to plan a career. So Quebec and the FMOQ accepted to create 4 years. There are 4 positions a year for a new graduated family physician or a family physicians arriving from another province. That is outside the prems, and they have to be researchers. It's strict conditions or aspirant to be researchers. But to make a long story short, you finish a master's degree, you want to do a year of fellowship somewhere, anywhere. You want to be sure you come back where you're supposed to be, and you will apply. There is a system, and you can be assured of that. So, and there are now research IMPs. Mind you, it's not simple, but it's there. It's possible for a year. So it can be, it's always one per program, but if a year a program doesn't have, and McGill has 2 and things like that. And then we needed competitive remuneration. And we really had a very complex LE 250 for those of you who are there, but you don't need to remember that. But to make a long story short, it was not supporting all the physician scientists. It was not supporting them for the whole time of their career. It was a bit messy. So we said we need that all of them be supported. We need money for the 20 we want in 10 years. And it has to be for the 12 years they are on awards. And we did manage that. We are actually negotiating that with the FMOQ. So that was what was done to try to really do that. This is very busy. The only thing, and Roland has seen that, it's part of the report on training, but what I want all of you to realize, and all of you who are maybe not really in research, but who are, you know, coaching residents and working with them, is that whatever the line, okay, you see, it takes time. It takes time. There are many ways to enter. You can enter many ways, and then you are like trained. Nice, have your training and everything, but you cannot get a G1 at the first time, because you have to develop your, you know, your resume, your CV. You have to, so you have to work here also, and we needed financial support, and that's why you needed the friends and all that, because the whole journey takes some time, and people have to be able to plan ahead. So I'm about to finish, so I'm going to be okay with my 5 minutes, and we'll have plenty of time to talk. So then Alexandra asked me, you know, but can you tell what can it look like, a research in family med as a family physician or a physician scientist who's going to develop his or her own research program and do the kind of life some of us do and that I have done. So I won't talk about me necessarily that much, but I just want to open on some ideas. First, a career as a physician scientist, certainly, particularly because of the balance between clinical work and research, it's really a life of finding equilibrium and maintaining equilibrium between research, clinical work, and personal life. I just want, you cannot say that enough. So that's and there will be transitions. We were just chatting with Sirat at the beginning when we were waiting for you, and you know, there are transitions, but that's really what it is. You have to find your balance. I just wanted to say, you know, I mean, I'm finished, but if I was young, I would be thrilled to do it again. Honestly, there are so many fascinating things, and you know, all the issues were important in healthcare can be places for family physicians to develop research. You know, I prepared for another talk at one point, and somebody said we can think of challenges, you know, around 3 kinds of perspective. All the world of health sciences, you know, is exploding. Precision medicine, AI, all that. I mean, all those things that are evolving is very important. The healthcare system also. implementation medicine, you know, making things work. I don't know, most of you must know Atal one day. I was reading one of his paper at one time, and he said, you know, we have a Star Wars healthcare, but we have a Flintstone healthcare system. So, you know, we are like doing AI, but our healthcare systems are just not working. So there's a lot of things there, talking about learning healthcare system, all those things that are there, and clinical practice. There's a lot of things, how to take care of people who are very fragile at home, how to integrate acute care outside of just emergency care. I was reading Moira Stewart, who you don't know, who is in London, Ontario, and is an epidemiologist, pleading again for more research on symptoms, you know, what happens to people who have headaches, you know, what happens to that? And there are so many things. I mean, it's impossible not and it's all relevant for family medicine, because what you're going to bring, what family medicine brings, it's not the topic, it's the approach. And it's really bringing the generalist approach. And this is a very nice paper from Kurt Stange, the generalist approach. And those of you who have not read it, it's not long to read. Because being a generalist, it's ways of being, the way you are, the ways of knowing. We have a large breadth of knowledge, ways of perceiving things, integration. We are more the holistic approach, and ways of thinking and doing. So we bring our family medicine generalist approach to any of those topics. And this is why that's translational also. That's the translational gap. And this is why there is certainly a room for family physician scientists in many areas. So you should not have trouble finding something that interests you. You have to focus. If everything interests you, it may be a problem. Then what I want to say also, it's about equilibrium, and I want to come back to that. And that also is a very interesting paper to read, The Missing Link in Academic Career Planning and Development, Pursuit of Meaningful and Aligned Work. And this is true not just for research, of course, it's true for anyone, and two important words here: meaningful work, alignment. And so, and this is from Susan Leaf, and maybe some of you know it. So meaningful work can be described as the realization of one's potentials and purpose, the point at which a person's passion, strengths, and core values interact synergistically with his or her work. That's meaningful work. And you need alignment, and that's very important in research. You need to be aligned. I mean, internal alignment, of course, my strengths, my value, who am I, but align with also your environment, you know. You have to find an environment that's aligned with your values. It seems simple, but not necessarily so simple. And to have an environment that's fertile for you, or I mean, it seems very selfish when I'm thinking of you, but at one point, so it's really a match, you know, between the environment and your passion, your values, what you want to do, and an environment that will offer support, resources, expertise, and also the support of your clinical setting. So, you know, it's very important. What I was thinking of myself, I live in Charlevoix, and let's say my dream would be to grow oranges and to be, you know, an agriculteur who grows oranges. Well, I had two choices. I move from Charlevoix and I go to California, or I change my dream and I decide to grow, you know, broccoli or lettuce or something else. But, you know, if I try to grow oranges on my little piece of mountain, it will not work. It's not a question of good or bad. It just won't work. So alignment and meaningful work. So that's my conclusion. So what can a career look like? Well, the career should look like you. So you need a career that looks like you. And that means really the intersection between your interest, your passion, the interest, the passion of the person. So if it's molecular medicine applied to, there are people, you know, trying to apply precision medicine to family medicine, and a physician can be very very useful there. Your passion, your values, your strengths. And that is here that is meaningful work. So, and then of course, department, university, and practice. So I'm through with my what I've prepared to share with you on the topic of making a career as a physician scientist possible. Of course, a lot what I've said applies to non-physician scientists, to all scientists, and to a certain extent to anyone in academia who is, you can become a leader in management and education. So I think you can see a lot of things that are applicable to many of the academic world. So I don't know, Alexandra, if it answers your request, but that's what I had prepared.
Yes, thank you. And I see we already have a couple of questions, but I thought it was very important. We're a family medicine department with many members of this whole research continuum. So I thought it was very important for everyone to be aware of what was going on. I mean, it's a very stimulating moment right now to be doing research in family medicine. There's a provincial support and enthusiasm about it, and I can't say that we always felt it over the last year. I think the road was stumbling. I felt it, and yeah. So I think everyone who's aware, dealing with residents, is very important to know all this, and the mentorship will build on, and I'm just going to say it now because then I'll lead to questions, but communicate with me if you need a mentorship to people. It doesn't mean I'll be the one mentoring, but PhD researchers, we will need also you for mentoring. This is kind of very essential, and we're building on that.
So
now I'm going to leave the question.
Yeah, I just want to say I can take questions wherever you want to bring it. I hope we won't take the half hour just to talk about the nitty-gritty of the things in Quebec right now, but if there are, and so I let Sirat, because I'm not able to both read and look at you, so I let Sirat manage the chat and the question.
Yeah, so there's a question in the chat if that person feels comfortable saying it out loud. If not, then we can start with Vanya.
I'll let Vanya go first, and then I'll go out.
Marie-Dominique, je suis ravie de te voir. Merci beaucoup. La dernière, surtout, quand tu parles de alignment et meaningfulness, c'est extraordinaire. Je te pose une question comme ça, j'espère que bon. C'est que le groupe que tu parles, c'est un peu, tu prêches aux convertis.
Quand je t'entends pas bien,
je vais fermer mon vidéo. Je vais fermer mon vidéo. Je pense
oui, je t'entends beaucoup mieux.
Mais ça, c'est mon système, ça.
C'est bon, c'est bon.
Alors, quand tu parles de meaningfulness et alignment, ça me parle beaucoup, mais en même temps, j'ai l'impression que le groupe, tu prêches aux convertis. Alors, comment est-ce qu'on injecte tout ça à des non-convertis, à nos résidents? Est-ce que tu as une recette? Un peu le mariage entre le mariage essentiel, bien sûr, entre le terrain et la recherche. Puis comme tu dis, j'ai un peu de difficulté à imaginer un chercheur qui ne fait pas de la clinique le minimum même de clinique. Alors, je ne veux pas ouvrir un trop grand débat, mais ça a été, dans le temps que j'étais plus impliquée à la recherche, c'était un de mes grands défis et je ne suis pas sûre que j'ai pu le relever glorieusement. Là.
Est-ce que vous voulez que je réponde en français? Moi, ça ne me fait rien, comme vous comprenez. Là, je veux juste avoir un peu de guide pour... Est-ce que j'y vais en français, Alexandra? Moi, ça me va, je veux que les gens comprennent, c'est tout. On y va. Je vais arrêter de...
Oui, c'est dans le fond. Tu peux y aller avec la langue que la personne pose la question.
Parfait. Donc, deux choses, Vania, merci. Prêcher aux convertis, oui et non. Je suis pas sûre qu'on est convertis, tout le monde. Dans le sens, puis je vais parler de l'expérience que nous avons eue à l'Université de Montréal, que nous avons actuellement, parce que je suis très impliquée dans tout ça. Je pense que comme collectivité, comme département collectivement, et c'est vrai en Amérique du Nord, c'est vrai en médecine de famille, ça a été vrai, Même comme département, nous n'avons pas compris profondément comment vraiment soutenir des jeunes qui voulaient faire une carrière. Nous avons parfois, puis je parle d'un nous collectif, là, parfois nous n'avons pas, parce que ça nous appartient comme groupe collectivement de mettre le terrain, le nurturing environment, ça nous appartient. Ça prend une communauté pour faire pousser un chercheur, vu qu'on parle de recherche. Donc, je ne suis pas sûre qu'on était si clair que ça en médecine de famille comme discipline de ça. On était un peu romantique nous-mêmes. Ah, ça te tente, on va t'aider, mais on sous-estimait cette importance, je crois, d'alignement et de formation robuste. Donc, je veux juste dire, on est convaincu de l'importance, mais je ne suis pas sûre que comme discipline, on comprenait l'importance de l'accompagnement. Ça, c'est la partie. Ensuite, la partie individuelle. Comment on injecte le goût de la recherche aux résidents ou aux étudiants? On le sait qu'il y a une proportion d'étudiants en médecine qui sont attirés par la recherche, qui sont curieux, on est tous curieux, là, mais la curiosité qui amène à faire de la recherche. Et certains ne choisissent pas la médecine de famille parce qu'ils pensent qu'on ne peut pas faire de recherche en médecine de famille. Bien, déjà, si on est capable, quand on est responsable de l'externat, c'est bien la personne responsable de l'externat, quand on est responsable d'étudiants, qu'on voit des étudiants, ben on peut leur dire, vous savez, ça existe, il y a une traque de carrière. Juste dire ça, ça peut faire que les gens qui veulent y aller peuvent y aller. Donc, on a à être porteur du fait qu'il y a un chemin qui est faisable. Donc, et si on reconnaît, c'est pas tout le monde, hein, on dit 3 tu sais, 3 Bon, donc, souvent, moi, c'était mon expérience moi-même pour moi, jeune, là, fait 40 ans, et ce qu'on voit, Alexandra qui parlait, on l'a reconnu en Alexandra, sa capacité d'être chercheur, comme éducateur. Alors, souvent, les éducateurs reconnaissent le potentiel et là, il s'agit de bien d'accompagner la personne, de l'encourager. Donc, bref, peut-être qu'on parle à des convertis, mais en même temps, je pense que si on comprend mieux ce dont on parle, on va faire plus facilement le fit entre le talent, les passions, les capacités. Et voilà, c'est long, là, je m'excuse, mais ça couvre plusieurs choses. Voilà, j'arrête.
Great. So next we have
Annick.
Bonjour, Dr. Beaulieu. Je ne sais pas si vous me souvenez de moi.
Oui,
On s'est
absolument.
rencontrés quand j'étais étudiante en médecine.
Oui.
Alors, moi, j'avais un background très différent. I'm going to actually switch. Moi, je fais bon franglais. And so I was a researcher for 15 years prior to medicine. And so I don't need the bug of research. I have that. But I'm going to be honest with you, it's difficult as a new staff. And I congratulate you all on this new project for the people that are currently going through residency, going into a clinician scholar program, masters, and so on, to be able to be researchers within family medicine. But I'm going to be honest that it's very difficult. And the only reason I think I'm making steps and headways in this is that I don't mind not sleeping. And my work-life balance, because my kids are older, is that everyone knows that I just work all the time. Like, that's just me. But I think we need to do something on the clinician enseignant chercheur front.
Absolutely.
Because right now I don't have any time to do anything because I have to do my AMPs. I have to do all my supervision. I have to have all my patients. I have to take on even more patients. So I wonder what we could do on that front, because I think that's where the specialists have us beat. And this addresses Fanny's next question of how do we encourage people that have a research bent, even if it's only 3%, to get into being not even just a clinician researcher, but even being a teacher researcher. Absolutely. Within, because we need to show it's feasible. And right now I am trying my best within the unit to encourage research. And I think one of the things that we can do is make it more easy to do research. And so Alexandra is leading an amazing project across all the units right now. We were very excited to get funding on this. And when I talk about this type of project where we're basically doing a a cohort of patients that will be followed annually, and being able to ask research questions from within the units, but within overall of McGill teaching sites, that actually excites people that haven't even done research. So it's just, how do we bring all this, and how do we support the people that are the teacher researchers, even that 10 to 20%?
Yeah, there are two issues that I realized. First, we really debugged this track for younger, but also, I mean, you could have re-entry, I mean, as a clinician, but it's not. Some people do re-entry research after 10 years of doing something else, or I mean, and I think for that, it's really every case is different. But for the financial aspect, because there are two aspects of what you're talking about. There is really the culture aspect and the way of doing it. And I don't know about Alexandra's project, but the way just what I've heard, so there's a cohort, and you're going to create a cohort with all the family medicine units. Is that it?
Yeah.
So yeah.
For
and
all
then
the family medicine.
This cohort, you can use it for asking, people can have small questions. Well, this is really a structuring approach. And when I'm looking at the pyramid that I showed you at the beginning, that's acting on the pyramid. And so you can act on the pyramid, and it's a great example. PBRNs are a way to act on the pyramid. To support PBRNs, I mean, so the capacity to do research as a group goes beyond being able to pay researchers to do research or to support individual researchers. And I think that the models of PBRN, creating a cohort, is very structuring. So you have here, and then you can have a scholar project for your residents, and some of it is actually supported by billing teaching research. So I just want to say, you can bill around you. I mean,
but it's not the billing, it's the time. To be honest, I don't need more money. I need more time.
Yeah. Well, so then you have to look as a group, how you do that. I mean, I just want to say, it's a question, who wants to do that? Can we do that? How can we do that? How, as a group, can we help people do that? I mean, it can be very practical, but that's what it is, in cardiologic group. I mean, sometimes there's one who is doing more research and others are doing more of something, and so you take it as a group. And as a group, you have a vision, and some people do more of this or more of that. But it's
Marie-Dominique, what have you done in your setting? Tell us about your experience. How have you created that in your own academic setting?
Well, my research personally is what we've done. We have done a bit what you've done, Alexandra, right now with your cohort. When we started our PBRN, we started with a group project. So that's part of the thing, a group project. So it's not just everybody and we really try to, and I was paid as a researcher to do the heavy lifting. And then we recruited a clinician in each of our unit who was interested, was able to take time to supervise residents. And they were residents. It was part of the scholarly project of residents, those who wanted it. We did not impose it. And then we did find some money to hire a research assistant to help all that occur. And it occurred. So the clinicians would, do maybe 3 hours a week, and they would, honestly, it would be part of their teaching. Of course, if someone tries to develop their own research project, write their grants, write everything on weekends, evenings, and well, it's not viable. I mean, I don't think we should propose that model. I mean, I'm not proposing that model. But I think with PBRNs, with people who can devote like half day or even a full day, of course you need time. I mean, that's for sure. So that's the way we did it, and it worked. But it was a challenge for the paper to write the papers, because the clinicians, it was more difficult for them, and it took more time. But so we had a common project, many sites involved, so it's not everybody trying to reinvent its own project. And we created, and people were meeting, and we were That's the way we did it. And I think that's what PBRNs try to do. I don't know I know if this person for you, PBRN, is around and what they're trying to do to make it happen.
Oh, ma belle chérie. Bon. Oui, oui, ça va, je suis dans une réunion.
So, voilà. So, and look,
oui, alors.
So moving on, next is Dr. Labouche.
Merci beaucoup, Marie-Dominique. C'est vraiment, vraiment intéressant, présentation. Mais I want to take again the question from Fanny, how we can attract residents. And I think to do future potential clinicians researcher, I think we have to think before when they are medical students.
Absolutely.
And with the LFME, the longitudinal family medicine experience, for me, it's an excellent opportunity to attract and to discuss that. Me, actually, I receive every 6 months 2 new students. And the first time when they came, they told me, oh, I saw your profile on the website. Oh, you are a clinician researcher. I didn't know that it's possible with a family physician. And really, it's interesting. You have to tell me more about that. So at the end, they are possibly less interested with my clinical practice, even they are here for that. But I think really we have to do, and even as a department, we have to think and we have to connect, or we have an excellent program, but possibly this program LFME is running by itself, and you have to connect it with the rest of the department, from my perspective, particularly for clinician researcher. And actually with the new medical students, most of them, they have a master or a PhD.
Absolutely.
They already have, they already published, it's incredible the level they can have. So we can do something. So I have a question for you is most of the time, the potential candidate we met recently, they already have a master.
Mm-hmm.
So do we have to ask them to do another master in family medicine or to switch directly in a PhD? But in a PhD, it could be a bit more difficult to, to connect a PhD with a program for a future a potential research clinician. So that's also my question for you.
I think it's what is very important. It's a case-by-case approach. First, I agree totally. You have to begin with medical students, create, options in research and family medicine for a month of option in family medicine, create projects. That's very important. That's when people begin to really be interested and begin to be involved in something that is very, very concrete. So yeah, this is a great opportunity, and you won't like my answer, but it's not a one size fits all. You look at each person. This person comes with a PhD even, or a master in something. If this person wants to be a researcher, Howard Bergman said, who want to live and die by their research. I don't think if Howard is there, but I mean, like the scientists, and to be support. I'm sorry, but I think people have to be paid for what they do. I mean, I don't believe that it's sustainable to have people not paid for do 20% of something during a career. But anyway, that's my position. So we have to find ways. But you have to really see that. So maybe because to be successful, it's your credibility, it's your capacity. So each person, maybe this person, it would be better that this person goes for a year fellowship somewhere, just to readjust, because they would like to develop that, and they can do a 1-year fellowship and come back. With the thing we have debugged in Quebec. So this person is a resident, R1, R2, you see them, they're there, they've been there, they have the bug. And so you can advise them, we're going to recruit you. We're going to ask for this prem or prem. We're going to secure for you a position in the family medicine unit that's best for you. And you can go do a fellowship 1 year. You won't lose your place, and you'll come back and you'll begin your career to be successful. I think what is important is to make sure that we advise people so they have all the skill set they need to be successful. If they don't need to do another degree, recruit them right on and put them into the track, they will need to be so supported a bit to boost them, you know, their CV to apply for it. But so it's really give the person the opportunity to develop the old toolkit, and you adapt it. So so I would not say you have to do another MSc or you have to do another PhD. You can say, let's go do a fellowship and have fun somewhere and come back. There are ways to fund fellowships. And with the PREM, then you can recruit this person. So that's the kind of thing we've tried to do, to give some, and that was not there, Annick, maybe when you became, or that we were having those family physicians who were able to do research. But then because of all the PREM IMP and all that, it was impossible to enter them into a track. And that was it, you know. But this is part of that. Those things have been fixed a bit. So a long answer. So it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah, sure.
Take it from what do you want to do in your life? What do you need? You're ready, go for it. You need a little something, go for it.
Next is Dr. Dove. I'm not sure if you want to unmute.
Oh, Marianne.
Bonjour, merci. Bonjour, Marie-Dominique. Merci beaucoup pour ta présentation. Désolée, j'étais en réunion, fait que je
pas mal au courant.
À vous un peu de
pas mal au courant. Oui.
Je suis un peu au courant. I was just wanting to respond to Bertrand's point about the LFME students being so surprised that you can do research in family medicine. And I mean, we see this at all levels of training. It's not just LFME. They get to TC clerkship, electives. So my question was, because the clinician scientists in our department are a rare breed, whether it would make sense to have a presentation for all the LFME students where the clinician scientists talk about their work. Annick has responded that small groups work better for medical students, but just in terms of saving the resource, which is our clinician scientists, I was wondering if it might make sense to have just, you know, a talk where they talk about their research in family medicine. So that was my suggestion.
So something. We did do this. I don't know if it's still going on, but for at least 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we actually had people doing research across different disciplines coming into the med students and speaking. It wasn't just family medicine. It was actually, there was a family medicine clinician researcher, there was clinician research from across, and they did give talks to the students. Honestly, it was just another talk that the students had to go to. I don't know how what the buy-in was. Because it actually included,
of connecting it with the LFME, because the students have a different relationship to the LFME than they do when they're sitting in an auditorium hearing from like a whole panel of researchers. So that was my thought, was like, okay, you like, because a lot of the med students really love their LFME experience, their family practice experience, and say, okay, well, you know, if you like this and you also want to do it a bit, have a bit of an academic career, you can combine this. And it was just it was a thought. Alexandra's going to tell us how we're going to make this reality.
But I know that also that there have been things tried with when I talked with Gillian a couple of years ago, also pairing your graduate students within the. I think what is important is also, I would say, perseverance. I mean, you do it once, that's it, check done, not sure. It's part of a kind of a strategy where you're sure you do have also, for example, clerkship, 1 month clerkship, optional clerkship research in family medicine. You know, that's nice. So you can have a talk, and those who are interested can be offered a clerkship. I think sometimes we are like trying to do a lot of things, but then we don't follow, and so it's more. And also, you know, and I know the time is almost finished. You know, we have journal clubs in training, you know, guidelines. They read the guidelines, the new RCT on what X staten, and you talk of all that. But do you have journal clubs with the papers written by your faculty, family physicians, you know? So my point is that you have to take all the opportunities to showcase what we're doing. And we don't do that often in family medicine. Our researchers are more, there's a divide. We don't share, with the papers that are written. So it's a strategy to create a culture, obviously. And sometimes there's one person who does it and then the person leaves and it does not continue. Anyway, so I see two ends.
I just want to add that summer jobs for medical students are also a nice way to expose medical students. We're often contacted by medical students. Bertrand, you're really good at that. I think you accept all of that. It's not always a good fit, but even if it was with a researcher in the department that's non-clinician, but we do have some interactions, and I think we have to kind of jump on those requests more than we probably are able to. But I think
sometimes you see that as maybe adding a burden because they're young. Yeah, they have to be coached more, but they are the future. And then, you can, you see that in other disciplines. Clerkship one, the first, summer, the second summer, comes back with Bertrand de Boucher, builds his or her CV, does the second project, enters residency, does the scholar project on the same issue, builds the CV, builds the go for an MSc, and that's that's when they're young. And I know sometimes people come back when they are already all trained, but and we have to find ways for those people too, like you shared. But yeah, absolutely, you don't need so much. 20 in 10 years for the whole province of Quebec. I see. It's not that I don't know the difficulties, but I'm the kind of person to say we should not just say it's difficult. There are ways. Let's try to find realistic ways to do that. Anyway.
So our last two questions are going to be from Fanny and Dr. Rahimi. So I know Fanny, you asked a question in the chat. I was wondering if that was answered.
Yeah, no, I think it was addressed. Thanks.
Okay. So Dr. Rahimi.
Okay. Bonjour, Dr. Beaulieu. Merci beaucoup pour la présentation. C'était vraiment intéressant. For me, that I'm a PhD researcher, but I had the experience of being trained by physician scientists and working with physician scientists in many of my projects. I've been having very wonderful experience working with physician scientists and learned a lot and fascinated how they can do all of these, clinical work and research and teaching and all of this work and having the balance. But my question is here, how do you think us PhD researcher could help to facilitate the work for promoting more physician scientists or to help in training these residents in research? What do you think could be our role and how we can help in this regard?
Well, thank you for the question. I mean, you are fundamental. You're part of the team. It's a team. A physician scientist alone cannot, cannot succeed. You need to work as a team. So I would say developing teams, working with them. So you can share on the same topics, and someone will bring more. The physician scientist may be more aligned with the translational aspect of your project and the application. It's really to work as a team, so you share also the work and the responsibility. So you are fundamental because you become a researcher because you're part of a team. And family physician scientists are unique, but alone they cannot do it. So I don't know if I answer your question, but it's really by being there, by being part of the team. You're trained together. You take sometimes the same courses. You're together. So and really for a department, it's to build a team. Really, you want the team with the what's the most powerful is to have the collaborator, the teacher, scientists and PhD who are really working together in a team on topics, and they help each other, they complement each other, they are not alone, and that's really the winning combination.
I agree. Thank you very much.
I don't see you anymore, but thank you for your question.
Okay, on that note, that concludes today's seminar. Thank you everyone for attending and all your questions. And once again, thank you, Dr. Beaulieu, for your presentation.
I thank you.
As a reminder, there are 2 upcoming research seminars. The first is on February 25th at 12:30, and they'll be presented by the Family Medicine Education Research Group and focus on communication skills training. And the second is planned for March 18th, also at 12:30, and it'll be presented by Dr. Neil Anderson. So save those dates and hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Merci. Bye-bye.